Tronic Hoosier joining us now, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda. How's it going, my friend?
It's going great. Could not be happier on this last week of March.
It is definitely that. Basketball every day. Literally every day. It hasn't stopped. The NCAA tournament started last Thursday, and play has continued. Now, on this Tuesday, we have NIT action going on that will feed us right into the NCAA picking back up on Thursday again. So looking forward to that. Some great games we got to see, and especially I know for Indiana fans on the women's side, a great game last night at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall as Indiana beat Oklahoma. And Chronic was at that game, and man, that was a fist fight and fun to watch.
You're muted, Chronic.
I got you back on. I couldn't I couldn't get it. No, what a wild basketball game for the women's Hoosiers last night. Uh Oklahoma, give credit to them, man. They were not afraid of the Hoosiers, of the Hall, or anything else in between, and took it down to the wire. But man, you want to talk about just an iconic performance, just the total embodiment of Mackenzie Holmes's career, what she's meant to the program, what she's accomplished personally, the teammate she's been, everything. Just a storybook, man. It was absolutely storybook to watch her will that team to a win in the fourth quarter. Just nothing short of remarkable. Um, I'm sitting here trying to contextualize where her career stands, and for a school that's seen some really good basketball, just in my lifetime alone. Um, just what again, just an iconic figure in the history of Indiana basketball, not just women's, Indiana basketball. And just what an absolute example of an Indiana basketball team Terry Morin's assembled. And you know, I can't help but think, her first season, how Tyra Buss, Amanda Cahill, all the kids that honored their commitment, stayed, that were already here after Kurt Miller's departure, and the foundation they set, the standard they established, the work they did to get this program where it is today is nothing short of remarkable, and a just a true testament to what Terry Morin's built, the culture she's established in Bloomington. It's a basketball team and a program that every Indiana fan should be proud of. I don't care what you got, boys, girls, whatever. Tell your kids to watch that team. That's what Indiana basketball looks like. That's what Indiana basketball should be. And that's the Indiana basketball most of us know and love. And it's been something to behold. So it's pretty special to see them go undefeated at home this season, having just lost one game last year. And now they get possibly the greatest test in program history as a reward against the undefeated South Carolina Gamecocks. So just what a heck of a night, man.
Yeah, that's not what I would call a reward. That is going to be I hate to say this, but I predict it to be the end of the line for Indiana, not because it's Indiana, but man, oh man, this South Carolina team they seem to be kind of heads and shoulders above everybody else playing the game. We'll see, but this team, that seems like a juggernaut.
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite of the men's bracket right now. There's clearly an elite. You look at the one seeds. I don't look at any one seed on the men's side and say that they're bulletproof. They're unbeatable. The women's game, totally different. The disparate nature of the top two, top three versus the rest of the field is just it's pretty stark. I don't think it's something that'll exist forever. I think as you continue to see the game grow, I think you're going to continue to see more and more talented women basketball players coming up that can compete closer to that level. But make no mistake, it's what Dawn Staley's built is an absolute buzzsaw right now. and the committee saw fit to let Indiana get a taste in Albany. So but again, I without trying to jump to Friday and what will likely happen, I just couldn't be prouder of this team, what they've accomplished this year, and what they stand for. It's one of those runs you never want to see end. And every time I think that, how's she going to replace Buss and Cahill? She does. So I'm really excited, but for Friday, but also for what lies in store, because she's built an absolute monster. I mean, just an absolute beast of a program. And again, it's something that it's been a while since I felt this proud of Indiana basketball, and the women's team certainly gives that.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, they're going to Albany, and I put Albany up there. They're above Minneapolis on places that I'll be fine if I don't have to go back to. Nothing. Minneapolis is a nice city, but boy, Albany is it's like death warmed over. After it's up there last year for the NCAA tournament with the men, but hopefully they have better luck. We'll see. But regardless of that, they've had a hell of a run. And we'll see what happens. Now on the men's side, and before I forget, Kurt Cignetti was in attendance of that game last night. So shout out to Indiana's football coach for showing up and supporting that program. I did not see any. I'm not saying that there weren't, but I didn't see any men's basketball players there. And I haven't heard anything of men's coaches being at any of these games, which I know they have stuff to do, but I find it hard to believe that you can't squeeze a game in. You're not recruiting the portal on the road. So, I mean, and I don't know for a fact. So I'm like, all right, maybe is if that's the case, but I'm a little, it makes you wonder from an optics standpoint.
Jim, that's a pile I'm not stepping in. But I saw the volleyball team there. I saw a bunch of soccer players there. I don't know what they've got going on. I know I have seen a lot of the men's athletes, just from their social stories, who've been out and about on the road, not in Bloomington necessarily right now. So I don't want to presuppose what they're doing. But I saw a lot of other teams there, and Coach Cignetti obviously seated right behind Scott Dolson, front and center. I don't think that was by happenstance. But I'll say this much, man: I've seen Steve Aird there a bunch the last several years since he's been in town. Same with a lot of the other athletes, a lot of football players, a lot of the other Olympic sport athletes, and it's cool to see. And that was probably most evident after the game, as soon as the whistle sounded, when the girls made their way up into the student section behind the basket and got to celebrate with them. Sometimes you lose sight of the fact that these are student athletes. Those are their peers. It's like almost like there's a line where it changes from high school, but they very much touch back with that. And they were kids having fun with their classmates at the end of the day, and they showed out for them. And I don't know that team wins that game on the road or in a neutral environment 10 times out of 10. I don't know if they get one win at the end there, but in Assembly Hall, it's great to see the Magic alive and well. That symbiotic feeling between the fans and the team. And you talk about a group that's really leaned into it, embraced it, been great citizens, been great neighbors. My kids have seen, I don't know how many of those girls in their classrooms in the local schools here over the years. And I don't know that they'll ever truly appreciate what that means, perhaps until they have kids of their own who might get to experience something like that. But it's special. It's certainly something that makes living in Bloomington awesome. But it was a sight to see last night when they were up in the stands. Just some iconic photographs.
Yeah, absolutely, and congratulations to them. But it was it was the best time that I had spent, even from a media standpoint, in Assembly Hall this year. That I can promise you, it was fun. But yeah, I don't mind stepping into that pile. Uh,
No,
it's
there's
just
been grumblings about it, and I don't know what goes on in cook halls. I don't know what those relationships are about. Um, it's I'll say this much: it wasn't. It's the absence has been a little bit glaring because you see a lot of the the players at a lot of the men's games. But again, everybody's got their own thing to manage, and that ain't my job.
yeah, exactly. Sad to see, but oh well. Who cares? Moving on to the men's team now. They've got a lot of holes to fill. Chronic. They have got to hit that portal, and I expect there to be 7 positions they need to fill. With I believe Khalil Ware is gone. I've said it over and over. Of course, I'm not the only one. He's listed on the mock boards and all that. Khalil or Mackenzie Mbako ultimately, I believe comes back, but we've got to wait and see. You haven't heard from Gabe Cups, and that one I'm a little surprised at why it's not been. Why would you not make your intentions known at this moment if you're Gabe Cups? Is he waiting to see what they get in the portal?
I'll say this much, man, and I made a comment about it last week following one of the announcements that who was it was staying? I forget. Oh, Sky Newton. Here's my thing, and I know that this is a new day and age, and I know things are different now, but I'm gonna get on my soapbox here. It's news if they announce for the if they enter the portal. It's news if they declare for the draft. Anything else, or the lack of anything else, just means the status quo. And I know that that's not a given, but I also think it's just a messed up world when we have to expect someone to say that they're staying when there has been literally zero conversation about them ever leaving, at least from what I would consider to be credible sources. And I think this is kind of rubbing me right now because when you look at the McNeely situation and the timing of that, and how it kind of coincides with all the rumors swirling on the boards about this mass exodus and yada yada yada. And it's toxic, Jim. It's not good because the same people that were telling us that all these guys were leaving are now the ones pumping um, totally different stories without ever really accounting for the fact you were wrong, and you were wrong in a big way. And I get that's how that industry works and whatnot. But at the end of the day, there are ways for kids to signal their intentions that don't require reading tea leaves or unsourced um, sources. And I just think it's kind of messed up that that's now news that you're choosing to stay. And I understand that with the portal and everything else, I mean, scholarships on their face are just a 1-year agreement. The IU Student Athlete Bill of Rights gives them a guaranteed 4 years of education, or at least till they get their degree. Whether or not they are still playing, whether or not they're performing, they're hurt, they graduate, what have you. But at the end of the day, they're here until they tell us they're not going to be here. And I don't know that you have to necessarily say that you're staying in order to assume that the status quo still holds, because we've literally received nothing to the contrary that would indicate otherwise. So I'm going to assume at this point, this staff has their hands full as is. I imagine, I'm certain, 99.99999% certain, there was a head count, and they said who's here and who's gone. You guys are free. Let us know though, because we got a plan for that. And I think you saw a coordinated effort to get all the departures out there up front and get it done early. And I think that's that. Now, that's not to say that stuff can't still happen. Ask Coach Sig. You can be on the eve of spring ball and have some departures. Nobody says that's not off the table, but for all practical purposes moving forward, and I think Khalil, I agree. I think he's gone, or at least he's going to declare and see what type of feedback he gets. I would be surprised if we don't have a bunch of players declare and at least test the waters and get the feedback. You'd be a fool not to take free professional advice when it's available to you. But I just think that I think the innuendo business is not good for business at the end of the day, because I think it leads to too much uncertainty. It leads to too many problems in making this look like an attractive landing spot for others. But I'll say this much too. I would love to see some names start popping here sooner than later. And I know the portal's just opened, but you got to get one domino to fall before you get a chain together. So it'd be nice to get that first one on the board and go from there. But I think at this point, with the exception of the draft declaration, I think the returners are likely set, and I would imagine the staff has established that as they proceed forward.
And as we've seen before, guys are added late. That's not going to happen probably before the tournament even ends or anything like that. But at what point do you think that you need to see somebody of that first commitment by before fans would start getting a little squeamish?
Say that again. I'm so sorry. We cut out just a second there.
I said, I know it's not going to happen now and immediately with the tournament going on and teams still playing and guys still deciding to jump in. But at what point do you get to before Indiana has that, until they have that first commitment? When should fans start to get a little squeamish if that first commitment has not happened?
That's tough to say, man. I would imagine there's a lot of due diligence being done. I would hope there's a lot of due diligence being done, just because I don't know that you're going to get a lot of chances to make it right if this doesn't work after next season. So I imagine that's part of the process. I think part of it's probably logistics, just getting the kids on campus, working schedules out where staff's going to be here, where the kids have availability, because everybody we're pretty much looking at is enrolled in a school somewhere. Either currently in college or perhaps still fresh or in high school. But I don't know. I would imagine that this is going to be a critical month as we head into April, because as you've seen in years past, a lot of kids enter the portal. A lot of kids end up, like a game of musical chairs without a landing spot. And I would think as we continue to do this year after year, perhaps that maybe illuminates some of the importance of getting it figured out fast, because when the music stops, if you don't have a seat, you're in a pretty rough spot from where you were just weeks prior. So I don't know. I don't know that there's necessarily a hard and fast date. I do think it's probably interrelated as you look at let's say we know we need shooters, you need guards. Well, say you've got half a dozen or so targeted, you've prioritized them. As names at the top of that list start to pop for other schools, I think that should accelerate the decision making downstream from there. So I would imagine that this probably works itself out here in the next 2-3 weeks. And that's not to say that you couldn't still have some openings come May. But I think you'll probably see a faster shuffling or settling of the pieces than maybe years past, just because people have, every time we go around this merry-go-round, people see the circus that it has become, and try to avoid not getting left looking like the clown in the whole act.